Hello everyone, I have here the LEGO Icons Transformers Bumblebee, the G1 Bumblebee. This has 950 pieces. I paid $90 US for it, 90, and I did build it live in one stream over on Twitch. I'm not gonna lie, the build of this felt a little bit weird, a little bit unusual, not quite like anything normal from LEGO, which makes sense because this is not anything normal from LEGO, only the second Transformer that they've done. And this thing has a lot of weight involved in it, and it does need to be able to fully transform down. There's only one parts forming bit to it, and we'll get to that. This does include just this little plaque right here, which is a sticker with a little bit of information there. Of course, the courage number has to be really, really high, but you have to have that durability to make this thing work. And it's not huge. It's much, much smaller than the Optimus Prime, for example, the closest thing that we've gotten to this. And I will show you those two side by side in both forms, in their robot form and vehicle or auto form. But ultimately the thing came together. It did have some parts along the way that felt a little bit fragile, a little bit finicky, and that does continue through once you get into actually handling it and getting into the transformation. I will say the head was something they needed to get right, and they got it really, really right. They got it better than I could possibly have asked from a very, very genuine LEGO build here, with these axe pieces used for the horns there, prints only, no stickers used in the main things. There are some stickers here, and I'll point those out, but the most important things are done with prints. You've got this print here as well, and that can be swapped out. They give you an extra one of those, so depending upon which version or which screen realization of G1 Bumblebee you're interested in, you can put it in the appropriate spot. You got the fenders up here for shoulders. These are the rear fenders. The windscreen ends up back here. Does come with the gun. The gun attaches down to the wrist with a single little clip, so it's not going to fall out. I think that the hands look pretty good. I will show you what articulation we do get with this as well. The legs don't look good, but you gotta go back and look. If you've been around long enough to have watched the G1 cartoons back in the original days, you might not remember how poor these things were. And you might not remember how poor the original toys were. I'm talking about the actual Transformers. Okay, this is not bad. The legs especially look very, very plain. These are prints, and thankfully they are oriented the correct way this time, unlike they did accidentally on the Optimus Prime. But overall, I think this looks pretty good in this form. But let's look at some of the articulation. What can we actually do with this? First of all, at the shoulders, there is one joint in there that is just free. So just gravity's always going to pull that down, but that's okay. It's just part of the transformation in there. So you've got full rotation here, which is nice. And then you also have elbows. You can go full 90 degrees at the elbows, and the wrists are able to rotate all around. It's also included in the transformation process. The hands look good to me. I really like these fingers that they came up with. I think that they worked out really well, and I hope to see those continuing to be used for many, many things well into the future, because they work well, not just as fingers. The head itself is on a ball joint, and that is arranged pretty well, so you can rotate it all around. You can actually turn down a little bit, look down a little bit, and look up a fair amount, so that's all good right there. There's no waist articulation here. The legs are only able to splay, I'm afraid. So the legs can be straight up and down like this, going towards the car transformation, or you can splay them out one at a time, or you can go farther, or you can do them at the same time. It's just not that useful. There's no front to back here whatsoever, and also there's nothing in the feet other than just this rotation here. So you can rotate like that, but that doesn't get you much. There's no other joint there that will do anything. This is all just articulation, just to kind of get it into the appropriate pose, but you pretty much have one main standing pose for this. It does have these tires on the underside, so it's not going to slip too easily, although I will say it's fairly back heavy. I think if you put this on a shelf in a room where there's a lot of movement to the floor, I would worry about it falling back, because it gets very, very close. Yeah, it doesn't take too much to get it to go past there. You can try to move the arms forward to get more weight forward, but then you have these bulky shoulders, which move some weight back, including these big tires, so you don't want to do that too much. But overall, that's pretty much what you get here. Let me go ahead and do the transformation. I will give you the caveat that the first time I did this, it did not work out well. I had all kinds of problems with it, so I did go ahead and put in some practice to try to get this right, to get the general concepts of this into, kind of into my brain and into my muscle memory to some degree. But ultimately, the transformation is similar in some ways to what they did with the original thing, the original what was the penny racer transformation, the Diaclone car. It was a robot that turned into a car, and that's it, before Transformers was a thing, And again, it was very, very simple. So folks who have been around for quite some time may have some nostalgia bias there, may remember it being better than it actually was. I do have to caution against that, because ultimately this is trying to be fairly authentic to the first generation. And that's nothing compared to the stuff that we have today. Nothing compared to the stuff from the heyday of Transformers, the very best Transformers toys that have been made in the past. I got a little bit of there's just a ridge right here. This needs to just barely pass by. I'm going to try to do this whole thing in real time for you. Keep this out of the way here. Oh yeah, this needs to be taken off. That's the one parts forming thing. Make some room back here. Go ahead and just get this prepared, and everything's going to start to fold. So this is going to fold up. It's going to fold up. You've got a new piece. This is a perfect time to show this new piece that was introduced specifically for this set. You will see it in other sets in the future, but it was specifically designed to solve a major problem with the design of this, to make it more durable. Because, that's holding most of the weight of the entire upper body here. And all this can come together. So ultimately is going to fold down. I will leave these out just a little bit right here. I'm not doing this exactly right, but I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to do it kind of naturally and try to get it in a real-time format there. There's just one more click right down into there, and all this stuff starts to come together. So you can see it's starting to turn into something like a Beetle. Not quite. The original was 100% based on a super deformed version of a Volkswagen Beetle from the Penny Racer series, later more famously known as Choro Q from Takara, later bought by Tomy, merged with Tomy, became Takara Tomy. They also did the Digi Q line with that same overall style. And I've got one more click that I need to get in there. There we go. Now we're in the proper spot. This will all come together. The doors will close up. Make sure I didn't miss anything there. Yep. The doors can technically open while it's in this form, but it doesn't really do that much. It's more for the transformation that they did that. Put this back around here. I think I just about got it now. Make sure these are clamped together. Take this, open it up, open up the side view mirrors. Thought that this would be valuable to actually see in the review in real time as opposed to a time lapse or something, so you can really see what's going on. And that's it. There we go. Yeah, so this is it. So it's not licensed by Volkswagen. There we go. Just got this side was sticking out just a little bit. There's a clip that I missed right there. It ain't perfect, but it looks like a super deformed bug. Well enough, I think. I wish that it was more accurate. I wish that they had gotten a license. I don't think the original one did. They just went ahead and stole the design, which was okay back then. It's not okay anymore. But again, it's not supposed to look realistic. I kind of wish that the front tires were smaller, because again, the Choro Q Penny Racer style had big rear tires and smaller front ones, but they went with the same here. And overall, it's a vibe. I could see this being an official interpretation of this vehicle. It's definitely close enough. If nothing else, just see it as like a Cybertronian version, although it's definitely much closer to an Earth mode design here. It does have a Bumblebee in the windshield right there, just to represent, because they like to throw little cute things in there because they can, and that's always nice. And again, you can replace this single tile up here. You can make that just plain unprinted. You can put it over here if you want. You put it over here. Anywhere a 2x2 will fit, you can place that on instead. And around the back, this is where you can see the stickers. So these are the only stickers that are on Bumblebee itself. Obviously, they reference there, and just the bumper stickers. And they do give you an alternate version of the license plate as well for a later upgrade to this robot. The gun, I think, looks pretty good, and the build of it, obviously is simple enough, but it was kind of fun. I like the blue tip right there, especially the dark blue tip, and just generally, this works out, and it does clip into the hand of the robot mode well, but there's no place to securely and properly put it when it's in its car mode. This probably being the best thing that you can do with it. It's too bad you can't swing this around just because of the angle limitations there to have it facing forward. That would have been nice, but here it's just used as a tail gun, to shoot at airborne Decepticons as you try to make a getaway. Here's what it looks like compared to Optimus Prime in his truck form. And I do keep the jetpack on here just because I think it looks cooler, but the whole thing is there. Scale obviously is completely wrong between these two here. But then again, 80s, 70s, 80s cartoons always had problems with scale, and scale was very, very flexible. So I think it's kind of forgivable, but ideally there should have been a much bigger difference between these two. But you are definitely limited by the fact that this is Lego, and there are only so many things that you can fold up and reduce and combine together. So I'm not mad at this at all. It does kind of feel like they're from the same universe, but B really should be a lot smaller. And there's a shot you've been looking for. Again, scale varies throughout the cartoon. I think that much of the time B is smaller than this, but sometimes it has been very, very close to this size. So overall, I think these two in robot form scale together well, much better than in their transformed forms, their vehicle form. Yeah, and they look pretty good on display. There's just not a whole lot that you can do with these posing wise. You can't put them into really nice dynamic poses. Speaking of which, I will point out that this joint over here, I had this on display for quite some time, and this joint has gotten really, really loose. So oftentimes just from vibrations in the ground, in the shelves, this will fall down. I hope that's not going to happen here. I don't think it's going to happen over time just because there's way less weight here and it's a different type of joint, but it is a weaker joint this time. Hopefully we will not encounter that. But overall, I think these two do look good together on display, as part of a collection. I think that Prime has a little bit of front to back instability and lack of confidence there, but I think it's just this over here. I think that there's a little bit more issue with B wanting to fall back. So make sure that you've got something behind it, or that you set it up with some kind of brace underneath to make it lean forward a little bit more by default. These are the leftover pieces, including the option parts that I mentioned here for the tiles. Here's what the sticker sheet looked like. So that's just it, the main sticker being obviously the one used for the plaque. And one thing I didn't show you on the plaque is that around the back, it has another B. Again, I paid $90 US for this. It's 90 euros, 80 pounds UK, or $120 Canadian for 950 pieces. Value-wise, you're going to be hard pressed to find this much genuine, real, actual licensed Transformers, legit Transformers stuff, just this volume of stuff today for that price. The only competition to the Lego things so far in terms of price to volume of stuff that I've seen are from YOLO Park or just stolen stuff. People that are doing the knockoff stuff, or the somehow not quite knockoff, even though it's 100% a knockoff thing because it's not licensed. But YOLO Park with their plastic model series, we only have a couple of them so far, but you get similar prices for the amount of stuff, but it's a completely different world, and also with their smaller figures. Otherwise, everything else in Transformers is way more expensive. People in the Lego world complain about how expensive Lego is today, and it is, all right? But it's always been, look at the data, look at the numbers, look at the facts. Lego has always been expensive for the amount of stuff, the amount of plastic that you're getting. But look at the Transformers world. The amount of plastic that you get in the Transformers world for your dollar is abysmal. Lego makes Transformers look bad. Transformers makes Lego look good. So that helps with the value proposition here. Just being fair, relatively speaking. That said, this is not great. If you like what you see first glance, you might be okay with it. Beware that there's not much more than what you see here, right? There's the transformed form of it, which is okay. Most people are not going to display it in that form because it looks even less like the real thing, if you will. But you know, it's got its quirks. You can't really pose it much beyond this at all. Yeah, it's not great. I'd say it's not as good as the Optimus Prime, and I honestly wouldn't expect it to be. You know, it has a fraction of the pieces, costs a fraction as much. They had to make new pieces to make this design work, and I completely understand that some serious compromises were required. This thing is heavy for something that's made out of Lego. You know, this is a very limited. No matter how many pieces they make, this is a limited system. Like building with Lego, and with Lego, the company's standards for ease of assembly for folks who have never done Lego before, and the need for durability, so parts are not going to be breaking over time. Although we saw with that Prime that one of those joints was not looking so good long term. It's a little bit of a miss there, but generally they try to do good work that's going to last. And yeah, that just means that with something that's brick built, you're not going to get perfection. This is not bad, but I don't think I could have done better within the constraints of a Lego product. I am confident that I could do something that looks better, that would require the hands of the creator, the person who made it, to actually transform it, you know, to not break it apart. So you've got that balance that needs to be made. Probably some small tweaks can be made to this, but to keep it in a form where it can readily be, where the transformation can readily be initiated by someone who's not experienced with it, having a few things knock off and having to put them back on. I don't know. It's a tough position, and Lego kind of can't win. This is not too bad. It's not a bad effort at all. I know a lot of work went into this, but overall, it doesn't fill me with joy the way that Optimus Prime did. I know that I've talked a lot here, and I do apologize for always being so wordy and windy, but I really put my all into bringing you this content. I try to give you my honest thoughts, complete thoughts. I try to give you different points of view and options for how I can be wrong, how others can be wrong, you know, different ways of looking at things. And that results in videos that are too long for most of my viewers. And I do apologize for that, but I'm going to stick to my guns and keep being real as much as I can on into the future, and try to adjust to just talk faster, but still keep the relatively chill vibe. It's a tough balancing act, but thank you for making it this far into this video, and I'll talk to you soon.